we've continued to continue with the theme of racism, and obviously it's not a continuation because it's present. A lot of us are thinking about, well, this is quite dramatic, but a lot of us are thinking about what happens next, the Islamophobia that's happening, and it's quite flagrant in the media. And some people are even bold enough to air their voices, whether it's on LBC, whether it's down the street that you live in. More precisely, though, I think what we need to do is draw comparisons about what's happening now and what happened maybe 30, 40 years ago. Now, I've got two esteemed guests here today. They're in their mid-40s and they lived through the 80s and 90s. So they were in their, I don't know, adolescent, early adult years in the 80s and 90s. And they grew up in council estates. Actually, an interesting fact is one of the guests, I won't mention which one, he may come forward and self-confess, was actually Tony Blair's neighbour. That didn't, though, deter him from being abused on a weekly and a monthly basis by working class white demographic. And what's quite fascinating is if you look at council estates now, more often than not, particularly in inner London, it's more ethnic minority. But back in the 80s and 90s, obviously I wasn't born then, according to my guests and everyone else I've spoken to, primarily the working class estates or the council estates were predominantly white, and the ethnic minorities, which are a majority now, were the minorities. So just to give you a rough idea, if there was 20 white boys, there'd be one or two South Asian boys. Or if you look at a sort of, in Hackney perhaps, if there was 20 white boys, there'd be 2 or 3 African boys. So that's how it was, and that was the makeup of it. So you could imagine these men here that are sitting here, they're going to tell us their stories and what happened to them, the fights that they got into. Some of them had near misses, some of them nearly lost their lives, all because of racism. And so tune in. Noz and Anwar are going to talk about their stories, and we're going to also discuss whether what happened in the 80s and 70s and 90s, if history is repeating itself, is racism, has it precisely reared its ugly head again, or is it a different form? Is it different? Is it actually racism? Is it something else? Is it Islamophobia? Has it transitioned from race to creed, or is it just the same thing under a different brush? Anyway, Noz, you're my first guest. Thank you very much for coming on. You're in your mid-40s. You grew up in a council estate in this country. The platform's yours now. Tell me about growing up and what you experienced.
Lots of interesting stories, Ollie. Lots of interesting stories. Lots of dramas. I mean, let me take you back quickly.
Sure.
So, as a kid, I'm talking primary school years.
Yeah.
I'm mainly with my dad, walking in and out the block, the building, the council estate.
Yeah.
And all I'm seeing is massive, like, skinheads. British bulldogs, glue sniffing on staircases. And as a kid, when you see punks and, different coloured hair and, they got scars everywhere, they got big chains, it's scary. It's a scary sight. I remember my dad used to obviously always protect me, make sure that we use different lifts going up. If they were on this side, we'll go the other way. So that was my first exposure, let's say, to what these guys were.
As a child?
As a child, yeah. I mean, I'm none the wiser at this point. Obviously, my dad, to get me to eat anything, he would say, look, these people down there that you saw, if you don't eat, they're going to take you in a black bag and, take you away. So, so that was my first exposure. So now let's move on from primary. So primary school, I'm in a mixed estate, i.e. Bengalis will say a handful of us, mainly Irish and predominantly older English, working class kids, yeah? So I'm going through primary, learning the language, obviously, you're going through with other kids. I used to play in the estate with, school children that I grew up with. So it was all nice. It was all cushy, as they say. But it's only on the weekends and as I got into secondary school, that real racism kind of kicked in. And what I mean by that is, so my estate was adjoining to another estate, which is notorious for like having hundreds of, white kids just hanging around, balled out their nut, nothing to do. And because they were a couple of roads away from us, these arseholes, every weekend or whenever there was a holiday, they'll come in like, firm with them, like 20, 30, nothing else to do, just come and harass us. So we're just trying to play football, just mind our own business, and they'll come in and they'll come from different sides and they come with their mopeds sometimes, helmets on and baseball bat. And it was scary, So obviously we, at this point, we're like, every time we go to play football, we're thinking about, are they going to come this way? Are they going to come from that side? So we're playing football, but we're looking at this exit and that exit, making sure that we don't get trapped. So that's how it was on a daily. We knew that was happening.
At that point, did you, as a teenager, process that? Is it a colour thing or a territory thing? Did you actually process that you're getting picked on?
No, it was a fact. It was purely because of colour. Okay. Because you're going to school, the P word's being used everywhere. You know that it's kind of normalised there. We've got friends that are experiencing this, in another estate.
Dare I say were the teachers comfortable in saying the P word?
No, not the teachers, but I'm saying it was a norm in, like, I'm talking, let's say 13, 14, obviously by then I'd lost my dad, but 13, 14, 15, we get a bit older, we know what's going on, we know on TV, we know there's shows and they're talking about, openly about the N word and the P words and stuff like that. So it was kind of normal for the white people, knowing that, the curry and the cussing matches at school, you lot think of this, and because obviously we're immigrant family, we're going to cook our shutki and all the other fish curries, and it's going to smell up the whole council estate. So anyway, so let's go to the juicy bits, So that's the background. So we're in a council estate with a minority, handful of us, and just over the road is a massive white estate, massive, like there's loads of them. The ones in our estate, because they know they can't step up because we'll deal with them, so they're kind of cool. But what they were doing, we found out afterwards, they were passing on news to the other one, saying, yeah, they're out here today. They're young kids.
So they're the moles.
They're moles, yeah. They're doing the lookout, and that's how we'll know. How did they know we was out today? How did they know we was here today?
Right.
So that was my immediate estate. That's my immediate experience and where I grew up.
Sure.
But I'm going to take it out to when I'm going to school now. So now you didn't have to be in your estate to experience that. You could be anywhere in inner city London, and if they see a single brown colour boy walking past them, wait, what are you looking at? Wait, what are you looking at? And then that's it. Just any reason. There always will be one mouthy so-and-so that wants to give the talk. And if you look back or say something, that's it. They're going to come and try to rush you. That's how it was. So, you try to avoid them situations, yeah? You go to secondary school now. And I went to a secondary school which was in the heart of the most racist and most notorious council estate in Europe, I've been told.
Wow.
Yeah, it's behind, it's called Packington. It's been broken down. That's how bad it is.
What's it called?
Packington Estate. It's been broken down, flattened, and it's like gentrified, and it's like completely different now.
It's really nice now.
But in the 90s, it was a maze. It was a maze. But do you know what? I managed to get in there with a few white boys, and when I used to bunk off, I used to go down just a little bit into Pack. I wouldn't go too deep because you don't know everyone who's hanging around there. I'll go with the people that I knew, and I'll come straight back out. So now I'll tell you where the real issues happen. So the people I went to school with, they're from that estate over the road that I'm talking about.
Right.
So they're like, they know my face, they've seen me, like, oh, it's that one, And then there's another estate on this. So we're surrounded by estates, and each estate have got just a massive white firm, Spa, Popham, Barnsbury, there's so many names, and they were like known in that area. And there's little us in the middle. So if you can imagine, Ollie, as a young boy, I'm trying to go to school. I'm thinking, is someone from that estate recognize me? Are they going to come and like jump me, or what's going on? So as you get a bit older, obviously they're seeing me hanging up, because in our school, like the second year, first year, when I was in the years, we used to call it first year, second year, they call it 7, 8 now. I sat around with a year older than me, like years 9, 10s, 11s.
Yeah.
Because there was limited number of Bengalis, we all huddled together.
Right.
And there was enough of us anyways, and we had loads of fights in school, and they knew if they mess with one, you mess with everyone. So that protected me till the olders left. So when the older ones left, now I'm a bit exposed, yeah? So now they're like, trying it, coming for me, this and the other. They're like, and they're coming for me in the weekend.
So were you a bit of a face then, back then?
I was, in the sense, because, I'm the only one that stood out, and I'm the only one that was, would give the thing back.
Give it back,
yeah, give it back to them. And in that 3-4 years, I don't know if you remember, Anwar, I had a massive fight outside where there was a...
I remember where you did say...
Yeah, there was knives involved in that. So there was a massive school assembly. I got excluded, he got excluded, he got investigated.
Right.
I missed out partially on my GCSEs or my mocks, I can't remember. And it was massive. And so basically I was a face, but...
That must be a different incident then, because I don't remember that one.
No, that was towards the end of school, because you used to mainly hang around with the football lot, innit? So
we used to hang about in school. We used to tolerate the. I don't know if I can use certain language, but we used to tolerate a lot of the rubbish.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So,
but I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, like the older ones. You know, like
I know.
10, 11. So this was an incident. Maybe you might not be aware. So it was a massive incident in my year 10 at that point.
Right.
Knives involved, all that stuff. After school came out. They heard about it. Police came, all that stuff. Excluded, investigated. They found out that I wasn't in the wrong. I'm not the one who had the weapon. So I got let back in. But my point is that as a young child, Ollie, one thing I had to do, I had to learn what fear was. I had to learn when your heart is racing, when you're running away from 50 white boys that might not kill you, but they're going to give you a good battering. You get me? So learning fear, learning how to think quickly and exit routes, but also knowing that I'm going to get them, and I did, and they're going to get me back. And it was this back and forth madness went on for a while. But they were always going to outnumber us. There's always 50, 80, 90, 100 of them. And it came to the point where one particular week in one of the holidays, and I know, remember this, it was one particular holiday, the word went out that there's going to be a massive, it's going to kick off, massive, basically. The word's gone out that we're all going to come out, we're firming up, basically, we're getting numbers, they're going to get numbers. So they've all joined up, and I'm telling you, there's hundreds of them. Police were surveilling us from the 7th floor.
Right.
So they've got the police have got their team out, the squad team, vans, everything. The white boys are coming from Half Moon. Do you know Half Moon? Are coming from over the bridge. You'll know the bridge. Coming from everywhere, all around.
Right.
And for the whole week, we're just trying to get numbers. I'm getting people in from Tampat Lane. I'm getting people from East London. I'm calling Anwar down. I'm calling other people down. We just need numbers, basically. Yeah, everyone's coming with their different things. We're talking, some guys are coming with air rifles and whatnot, you know, like pellet guns. Sorry, pellet guns.
I remember them. Yeah,
pellet guns. So it's like anything and everything.
Sure.
And how that concluded was that they're at one end of the street. And these kids, let me tell you, the way they fight and the way they do things is what their older boys have done. They're from a family of probably hooligans. The older brothers probably go football matches. They love shouting. And the way they're organized is purely like a firm, you know. They come from this side, they come from that side. The way they shout, the way they come on. We see it now. It's the same nonsense, yeah? So they come now, we're standing our ground. It kicks off, throwing bottles at each other, you know, and then it comes in and a little bit of skirmish. And as we're getting closer, the police come from boom, 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 both sides. But deliberately,
sounds fun.
Let me finish. The funny thing was, deliberately, where the white boys were coming from, that side was left empty. So the police come and closed us off.
Okay, right.
Completely. Vans, everything. Sorry, like cars, vans, everything.
Sure.
And we're all being like chucked on the floor, grabbed. Not even a single white person gets arrested. Or again, I couldn't see. I'm on the floor. I'm getting booted, and you know these police. They've got these metal toe things, and I'm telling you, I was bruised up. And they were racist. Police were proper racist.
So the police were racist as well.
Proper racist.
Police were racist.
Proper
There's
racist,
no doubt about that.
So I'm down. We all get arrested. Go to Tolpuddle. I'm in the police station, so I call up the older ones. I didn't want my brother to know, so one of the older ones come down. He represents me, and they just say, "Nice." They just kick him off. They just say, "No comment, no comment." So you know, no comment the whole through. It goes to all that stuff. But my point being is that the police were racist, so we couldn't rely on the police.
Yeah.
We're outnumbered on a daily. If they come out, there's always 10-1. Yeah. Number 3, some of us that lived in that estate, they couldn't go home till 10 o'clock until the older lot came down with a car or escorted them home. Like Alien, he couldn't go home. So that was the reality.
What, 10 in the evening?
Whenever we can get some of our older lot to come in and like walk them home or drive them home, whatever, because they're in the heart of it. And every time they go over to go home, they're back again. I go, "How come you're back?" He goes, "Bro, they're under my estate. They're there. So, you know, and it's that sort of every day.
And the thing is, this guy, the one you just mentioned, lives in the heart of a certain estate.
Yeah.
And I used to go and visit him all the time. So obviously, for him, it must have been like quite frightening. But at the same time, he was a bit of a loose cannon anyway, so he didn't give a monkeys about anything. So,
and I want to move on to Anwar, let him say his story. He was a bit more in there as well. You went too far out anyway.
Before I go on to him, from what you've described, without implicating myself, albeit obviously we grew up largely I mean, I grew up in largely a South Asian borough, you know, to Hamlets particularly, and for fun, as a joke, we kick the shit out of each other. Excuse my colloquialism. From what you've described to me, I get the racing, but was it just teenage boys not having fun, but venting frustration because they were bored, or was it systemic? And obviously, we're going to answer that question later on. Okay. So was it that their parents were saying, "Oh, look at this packy"? All right. Excuse my language. Yeah, yeah. Can I say that? All right. Yeah. Can I say that?
I'm all right. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So look at this.
Go Daddy. We're all the
actually, let's not say that because we don't want to. We don't want to. Make it normalize it. No, so look at this P word. Are the parents or the uncles of this estate saying, "Look at this P word, get this boy"? So they're setting their children on you, almost like how a guy sets his dog on you. So was it sort of? And you've mentioned the police. So there is that kind of institutionalized racism going on. So was it that, or was it just teenage delinquency? Was it just teenagers, as you do as a boy? You know, you've got your testosterone's developing, and you're looking to have a tussle, so to speak, and a bit of fun? Or was it just more systemic, and it was not just teenagers fighting, but this was hatred running through their blood because of your skin color? Because you've got to realize, as teenagers, and obviously I grew up predominantly in a Bengali borough, and obviously we butt heads with each other because they happen to be there, if that makes sense. But if it was, for instance, I don't know, African kids or English kids, for instance, was it more carving out territory, or rather, oh, this guy's black or this guy's white, and that's a reason I want to kick his head in?
I'm going to let Anno come in on this one, yeah? But simple answer, it was colour. Simple answer. That's
colour.
Yeah. If you want to know, did their parents tell them go and kick their shit? Probably was the case, but I can't verify. I wasn't there speaking to their dad. But I knew that the older lots were doing it to our older lots, so the younger ones were following. It was in a era where racism, P words were normalized. It was at a time where we were minority. We were second generation immigrants. It was a time when they had the upper hand in all inner city boroughs. It was at a time when our parents took bullshit, basically. They looked the other way. It was a time when fascists were the NFs, the big boys. They were out marching, Cable Street, Brick Lane, you name it. It was under that backdrop. So as the younger ones seen that, have been accustomed to it, but then they're just carrying that journey on. But we will explore it later. But they were the last lot, because when we were growing up, and in other areas, East London and other places up and down the country, forget about just London. I think our generation, I would say the mid-40 lot, we were the last lot that kind of held the front line, because around that time is when we said, listen, mate.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, the older ones were doing what they had to do, but they were still outnumbered. It was still rife. But when towards our time was the final stages of it, where we had numbers, we had tools, we had the know-how, we knew confidence, we knew what was happening. You get me? So we knew how to maneuver ourselves. We knew how the police operated. You know, we had access to stuff and whatnot. So it was what it was. As I said, it was. You probably say it was purely brand, because why would they start coming at me at another area just because they don't know me? But because you're walking across, you look a certain way, you look at them, or you walk a certain way, that's it. You're a target.
See, what I'm trying to, and I get what you're saying, but as a teenager, I'm going back to my teenagers, and perhaps everyone here can relate. As a teenager, we carve out territory. Like I said, I grew up in a predominantly Bengali borough, and even, you know, and most boys my age can testify to this, we were, you know, there was postcode beef and senseless fighting, and it made no sense. But it was just looking for, and I get it. I'm not saying that.
No,
so how do you distinguish?
Asian things are different. The Asian gangs, BLM, Drummer Street, Chroma Street, that's different. Seriously, Ollie. I'm maybe because you wasn't around. And I think I'm talking too much. I'm gonna let Anwar come in. It was seriously the baseline was your colour.
So it's through his racism.
It was pure unadulterated, raw racism. There's nothing else. There's nothing else.
Because I heard stories before.
Not from everyone. Not from everyone. From the cocky, mouthy one, basically.
Because I heard growing up, particularly, you know, when my granddad was alive, God bless him.
Chris Street was well racist.
Yeah, because my granddad got spat at in Upton Park by the West Ham fans. And
the normal thing probably back then, you know, our parents and other parents.
That was quite normal.
Getting spat at.
Yeah, most of the time they do it from behind. Or it'd be little juvenile just running across and just, you know, use the packy word and then spit. and run off.
Throw
You know
stuff,
what I mean?
run off, knock down.
Run off, and then when you look around, and there'll be a whole firm of them. You know what I mean? So
I've had people in my block get moved because the amount of time their letterbox got firebombed, and they're to get the councillors in, the council people to come in, and literally they didn't do nothing wrong. They were the most nicest, civilized family that you could find in the whole block. But because they were too civilized, they didn't fight back. So they knew easy target. They tried that with me. I got brothers, and they know if I don't find them here, I know where you live, you know where I live. It's going to be, no one wins in this situation. You get me? So some of the time, you know, when we had the Barnsbury lot, like the other areas, they knew who I was. We never took the fight to each other's addresses, even if we knew where they lived. We left. You know, there was some rules there.
So the unwritten rule, unwritten code,
because
that goes too far.
There was some stuff.
That's why I have to ask the question here about where do you draw the line from teenage delinquency and out and out racism? And I think from what you've told me, it's quite compelling that it is racism, it's out and out racism.
And it'll be interesting to show you the journey, how that transition developed, evolved to where we are now, and we'll explore that.
We'll explore. Just quickly before I move on to Anwar, psychologically. Growing up, all you can see is hatred, persecution, violence from predominantly white people that you lived around. Did that shape the way you think up until now? I mean, it naturally would.
No, it's a solid question. It was a really good question, and I'm going to take 5 more minutes here. I'm going to let you come in and
it's fascinating.
Maybe I'm talking too much.
No, you're not. It's quite interesting.
Listen, Ollie, I'll tell you this. Hindsight is a beautiful thing.
Right.
Years, life, reflection is an amazing thing. I've had close to 25 years, 30 years to think back on certain times, behaviors, attitudes, whatnot. And I'm going to go a bit more deep now, and hopefully you'll appreciate it, and Anwar can follow me on this, So what was happening was an identity crisis. As Asians, we've come over with strong cultural roots, our parents, the Bangladeshi culture. We're here in a host nation, and in the host nation, we are, second class citizens, basically. So we are carving out our own identity, subculture. So you've got the black estates, they're all they know what they are. They want to follow the Yardis, they want to follow the Americans, etc., etc. So they're doing their thing, The English, they're the working class, they're just mouthy, following hooliganism and racism. But with the Bengalis and the Asians, we didn't really have a model to follow. So we were carving out a model based on our culture, our religious identity, and also host identity, i.e. the new liberal freedom that we're experiencing.
I can relate to that.
So it's like a hybrid, tribid, whatever you want to call it. But at the 80s and 90s, if you put a scale, it was more culture and less of the Western ideals.
Was it because you weren't accepted?
It was because parents instilled it hardcore on us.
First generation.
It was because it was first generation. It was because every other parents around us also reinforced it. It was because we couldn't get away with too much without being accounted. It was because it wasn't WhatsApp back then. There wasn't, if you wanted to mix and do stuff outside of what you wanted to do, you had to make a few moves, before you did something like that.
Sure.
So it wasn't as easily accessible. It was 90s and 2000. That culture started getting less, and the new identity, so i.e. whether it's rap music, whether it's jungle music. So I remember I started moving into like kind of garage hardcore, and then you move on to jungle, and it was basically my brothers were the UK Apache boys, the big baggy trousers, and below that was probably myself, which was the kind of sort of more, and the music brought us all together, actually brought the estate together. We had youth clubs, decks. The decks would come out, we'd all go there, make some music. It was something to do. We had weekend, what they call play schemes, summer schemes. We had summer schemes, White Lion, remember the White Lion Centre. So there was things to do, and as we had more options, we were kind of, still being protected in a safe space, but we could be ourselves, but also kind of, we were picking up new dress code, how to speak, etc., etc. So we were carving out a new sort of subculture for us. Now, did we carry this on 20 years down the line? Have we evolved more? As that's a deep question.
I think.
I don't know if I'm addressing your question.
But fascinating as it sounds, and I get it. It's an insight, because I think a lot of things it's particularly that, if I can touch on the hybrid culture about where do we fit in? We can't
Yeah.
follow the sort of Black American culture
Yeah.
or the Yardi culture.
Yeah.
Now that we follow the English culture, and we just carve out a culture for ourselves because we've got a lot of things at play. We've got the religion, etc.
Yeah.
But my question is, because you've had English boys, predominantly white working class,
Yeah.
since teenage years up until however long,
Yeah.
you know, and all they've done is addressed you with violence and vulgarity,
So basically,
etc.
you're asking me, am I carrying a chip on my shoulder? Am I still thinking all white people are racist? And I've got a massive, they've kind of scarred me for life.
Essentially, yeah.
And if that's what you're asking, nah, mate, they will never scar me for life.
Right.
Because I gave back as much as I got.
Yeah.
And they did scar me, I'm not going to lie, 2 millimeters from my jugular vein. So
Right.
things got messy, but it went both ways. I'm not going to go into it.
More from a psychological
Okay,
perspective.
from a psychological perspective,
Yeah,
the thing with me was I knew who my people were.
sure.
I've still got the same set of friends from school days, college days. I knew as I was growing into my teens, I started finding who I was as a person,
Right.
and identity became more stronger for me. So as I'm phasing into knowing what I'm about, where I'm going, the journey that I've been on, I'm more comfortable with myself. But if someone that hasn't put the pieces together, they might still hold a bit of grievance.
All right, so say you're 21 now,
what do you mean, like back then when I
back
was
then, 21, 22, presuming you went to university,
Yeah.
got yourself a degree and what have you. At that moment in time, before you sort of rub shoulders with the middle class, because they're the ones that were really going to university. It was a prestige thing back in the days anyway. Prior to that, were you just thinking white people are really bad people? That's my question to you. Not that, you can give it as much as you can take, but the fact that all the white people that are around you, they're either spitting or you're trying to be violent towards you, you've got to run from them. You must be thinking, wow, all my experience has been that white people are really bad people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking you.
No, the thing was, a lot of my mates were white, so I didn't. If I was in a bubble and I grew up just around Asians, I probably would think that. Listen, I've said too much. I'm going to leave it. I'm not jumping from.
Just so you're saying...
I had a mixed group.
You had a mixed group.
I had a mixed group.
So, in spite of being racially abused from early teenage years up until however many years, you still had an open mind and you could distinguish between good and bad regardless of colour. You didn't have this fixed mindset of these people are bad because all I've got from these people are racial abuse and violence.
When you say these people, what do you mean? Like
white working class people.
So if I put all of them into one basket, you know what? They didn't really... I was thinking about the gangs, and I knew, and Anna will touch on it. We was the last. So when we had the proper fights on a weekly, and we stood up for the people that couldn't stand up, and then it started changing, and obviously by then we've kind of moved on. They've moved on. I'm not gonna stand there spend my time thinking about them because things change. Dynamics change. The demographic changes. People move on. I move on. I've changed as a person. So yeah, people change.
So psychologically, it didn't impact you.
It did or it didn't?
It didn't. Okay. Other people would say otherwise. Just continuing on from what Nozza said, what was your experiences?
Well, my experience was I initially grew up in a council estate for a couple of years, not a very long time, and it was close to Packington. And basically, I went to school, primary school. I knew, when you're young, every child is a child. There's not a racist bone in their body. But it was the slightly older kids. When you come home, on the way home, you're getting the P word, the spitting or whatever, whatnot. And at that point, obviously, you don't know what's going on. You're just thinking, it's just, it's normal. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh yeah, we didn't know what was racism. We didn't know it was to do with our colour. But obviously, as you grow up, you tend to realise, actually, this was to do with my skin colour. This was to do with the fact that, I'm different. And I remember, a lot of these things were, I wouldn't say once in a blue moon, it was regular. It wasn't like, because it's like in the estate that I grew up in, there was like, I think 3 or 4 families of Asian, and the rest were, mostly white English people, maybe a few blacks, nothing else. So as a young child, you tend to get along with the young, your age group. You have no issues. You don't see colour. You don't see nothing because you're innocent. At that age, you're like normal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You look at each other and you think, what, he's my mate. We're just going to go kick a ball and that's it. But as soon as you see the older ones, slightly older, teenagers, they're looking at you differently. So I grew up like that in that estate. And then within a few years, we moved on. As a family, we moved to a nicer area where there was a nice park in front of it, nice houses, and the people were more, better well off, a little bit richer. And people had their own homes, it was a house. So the actual area it was like, you got lawyers, solicitors, and people like that living there. So we didn't have any issues with our immediate neighbours, if you don't mind me saying so. But the thing was, actually, the people that we grew up with were the immediate neighbours. There'd be like 10, 15 of us, different colours. My mates were white. The local boys in that area. We used to get together, kick a ball in the park. We used to ride the bikes, 10, 15 of us. And back then there wasn't many cars as well. So we had the whole road open to us. So there'd be like 5, 6 Bengali kids and the rest would be white. There's 15, 20 of us. We're riding our bikes around the park. That's how it was, because the people who have a bit of money, they tend to be less looking at you, oh, yeah, he's different or wherever. Because they're more educated. They're more educated.
Okay,
they're not ignorant.
Okay.
They're more educated. So I grew up around that kind of, first it was like, really horrible little, I don't want to use the...
Rugrats?
Yeah, I'll use more colourful words, but I don't want to use it.
Go on, use it.
Little cunts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's too strong.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, right.
The language I use is because the way I grew up. Yeah, around certain type of people.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a bit too strong, but
go on. Do you know what I mean? So, we grew up like that. The people around me were, nice people, educated. Right. But as soon as we, went outside that little square, that's when all the little rugrats used to come out. Right? You had 50, 60 odd kids. We were surrounded by, council estates. He mentioned Barnsley. There was across the road. There was another one, and it was like, and most of these kids used to hang about outside the pubs with their parents. The parents are having a pint or two. They're a bit lagging. They're a bit confused, whatever, whatnot. Oh, there's a brown kid. Go sort them out. Go sort them out. And obviously, when there's like 50 odd kids, what are you going to do? You're not going to do nothing. But the thing is, with me, I grew up differently. I grew up because I have a big family. I come from a family of 7 brothers. At the time, there was 5 of us who were growing up. And the thing is, we always stood our ground. And the reason we stood our ground because it comes from my father. My father was a really tough man. So he never used to allow me to come home and say to him, you know what, Dad, I got into a fight and I got my head kicked in. He'd say, if you're going to get into a fight, make sure you win.
Deal with it, yeah.
Deal with it. Yeah. I don't care what you do. Make sure you come home. I don't want you coming home crying. Because if you come home crying, you're going to get some more. Yeah, and that's how it was. When I came home, I got licks. And then I started being, you know what, mate, I bet, pull my socks up. Yeah. So, these kids used to come into the park, which is a nice park, a nice green area. Yeah. Even though they're teenagers or whatever, whatnot, they'll have a pint in their hand because their mums and dads are in the pub, and we had like three different pubs around where I used to be in each little corner, within 2 minutes of walking distance. So you can imagine it. And the thing is, it was surrounding the area that I was living in. So I grew up like that, but my mates were, predominantly white because there was no Asians. There was. Within 10 minutes of walking distance, there was like five families, and like I was saying, there's 5 of us, 5 of us and me and my brothers, and the rest are English white kids. And when these kids used to come from the other estates or whatever, whatnot, into our nice little, nice little
cul-de-sac.
Yeah, cul-de-sac. What we on, where we're all living nice, happy lives. Like little fairies dancing around. You know what I mean? They would come around and go, oh yeah, Bran, let's go and get him. Yeah. They leave the white kids alone, but they come and pick up on us. And obviously, me and my brothers, we never used to have it. Even there was another family. They were slightly older than us. We'd never have it. We always stood our ground. We never fought.
So it was zero tolerance policy?
Yeah, for us it was zero tolerance because my dad was militant.
Okay.
He wasn't one of them ones that, yeah, it's all right, son. Yeah, here's a lollipop. It was nothing like that. Obviously, I'm saying I'm saying it in English, but obviously he spoke in Bengali.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He spoke in Bengali. So we grew up like that, me and my brothers. And I remember but the thing is, there was kids, some of the kids that we grew up with that used to, we used to play with. There was one particular family that used to get on my nut. Yeah, they used to come round because they used to live slightly outside the square. They used to come round and they used to hate us because we're brown. Obviously.
Well, openly hate you.
Yeah, openly. It was open. It was nothing hidden. Now it's hidden. But back then it was open. You could say what you want, you get away with it. No one could say nothing to them because there was no law, there was no equality, none of that rubbish that you're getting now.
Well, I say it's rubbish, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because it softened a lot of people up. That's why I say it's rubbish. The thing is, they'll come and they say things. They try, they try their luck with us, and we'll always stand our ground. I remember one time. This is not to do with violence, but this is how they used to think of us. We're living in a nice area where there's nice people around us. But then we'll get dog poop on our door.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll get it on our door, and we'll come out and like, it's all over our door. And then I remember one time that happened, and me and my brothers got really worked up. We grabbed the tools, we went out there, we chased them down the road. They went home. And you know what? Within a few months, they moved somewhere else. We didn't even know where they were. Do you know what I mean? So this is the way we grew up in that little area. But then I went to school in the same area as well. So when you're that age, the primary school age, everything's sweet. No one's looking at your colour unless they're teenagers. Yeah, no one's looking at your colour. Everyone's all right. Obviously, there are some kids, that used to have parents who used to obviously impact their way of thinking.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So they wouldn't use the racist terms, or they wouldn't see you because of your colour. It's because the parents used to treat the children of colour or people of colour a certain way. They'll come and treat you a certain way, but they won't know the language. The P word, the term, but ding ding, all that was like quite normal. But they wouldn't use that. But they would. You see, there's certain
behaviour
traits. A little bit of hatred towards you.
Sure.
But it wasn't like outright racist. Because obviously the kids, at the end of the day, they're children. And we're children, we don't know any better. But when we think back at it, what this was because of manipulation or
So
parents.
If I can conclude from both of your,
I just want to add one thing before you conclude.
Yeah.
You conclude after that. This came to me now. And this is me assuming, by the way, but it could have been also for them, for the white groups. It could have been a badge of honor, if something to talk about. So if you batter the pack. Recently, and he'll go back and say, I did this, I did that, and it's like something makes well done, mate, and it's like,
so it's systemic reputationally.
It's like something for them to boast about. It's something, that's what they had nothing else to do, did they? They're only 17, 16, 15, however old they are. They got nothing else to do. It's not the days of social media. So for them, social media was hanging around council estates and getting on their diamond white or whatever they used to drink back then, getting pissed, and if they can have a story there to say we did this or we did that, there's something,
that's why I ask. And it's very.
And saying that, I'm going to add also, the black community had their own sort of initiation badge of honor,
which
was like, how many people have you gone mugged? What have you done?
Oh wow!
No, it was a fact. I know. I'm telling you from first hand. The Chinese community had their own initiation. The triads. Again, we were surrounded by all three. Well, Hackney on this side, triads on this side, white people on this side. So I know. The gangs, the firms, the people.
So hang on, can I just clarify? So the English's badge of honour was beating up a coloured person?
I'm not saying definitively.
Just from your experience,
I'm saying probably, because what was I going to do? Because if someone, like for the Bengali, it was like, if someone's been banged up, done Feltham, and comes out, is the talk of the ends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't agree with that, because obviously, as I grew up, I started hanging around with white people.
Right.
So I used to see that, certain members of
There's
my...
good and bad everywhere.
Yeah. But the thing is, certain racists or whatever whatnot, I was all right with, because obviously I managed to, kind of mix in, blend in kind of thing. And the thing is, they may have been racist towards other people. It was like, it's that Joe Dacky Anwar, you know what I mean? We've done him and this and that, but you're all right. It was that, and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, mate. Yeah, no, no, I'm not all right. I'm not all right. What do you mean, that Joe Dacky? No, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, but the thing is, it wasn't like Nozzy was saying. It's not like they were canting. It was just the fact that, you know what, it's just something to do.
It's just if someone went back and said, I did this, it'd be like, yeah, top man, you did well, because they're all racist, isn't it? Yeah, it's the same with.
Are these men? Are you still in touch with these boys that you grew up with? Do you think they're still racist?
Good luck to them if they are, mate.
The thing is, racism is not if you got it in you, you're not going to completely wipe it out.
We've got it in our own culture.
The thing is, you try and control it, and I've seen a lot of that. I've seen it because I grew up around them.
Yeah,
you try and control it, and the thing is, they do try and control it. Because obviously now what's happening is, coming back to this time, a lot of people are, more mixing.
Yeah.
They're understanding that, you know what, you may be different in colour, but there's certain things that we're similar. We're growing up and, whatever.
They've interacted with us. Since the 90s, they've actually interacted. So the ones that were proper racists, probably in the next 10, 20 years, and I've come across some of them, they said, listen, Naz, I went to prison and I shared a cell with one of your boys from East London, and we were the best of mates. But prior to that, he was at the front line. He was always the front line, the one that would shout the most, let's go and do this, let's go and do that. And then after 3-4 years, he done some time inside, came out, and he goes, his best mate was a Bengali inside. So what Anne was saying, and I'm kind of vouching, is that you're right. As they started growing up, they started interacting more with more Asians, different color people, and probably got to know us as kids rather than just, a set of colors that we can go and, do this and do that with. But it was endemic or systematic, because we know about Stephen Lawrence, we know it was in the police forces, it was in East London, it was up and down the country. It was massive. It was a massive problem. We all felt it in different ways. We're only giving you a snapshot of what me and Anwar faced in our area where we was a minority, but that would have been the same all up and down the country, wherever you was. And luckily for us, we had, a strong Asian area next to us, which was Camden. So areas that didn't have any Asian boys or groups or, numbers around them, they would have got it good and proper, in the sense they would have been frightened on a daily to even come out. I do feel for it, and I think that's repeating itself in up and down the country now with outside of London, where it's mainly a white town, and let's say immigrants have been housed there, Syrians or whatever, they're going to feel that same sort of fear that we felt when we was growing up, although it's 20-30 years on, because them same boys that are going to go and taunt them are the same mentality, same mindset that we had to deal with when we was teenagers, because they've got nothing to do.
I don't really agree with that. I don't agree with a lot of things you say, Nas, because I've obviously grown up around white people, and I think, you know what, they've got to understand us now.
No, you didn't get what I said. I'm not about the
Syrians.
I'm talking about. What was it? You can disagree. It's fine. I'm talking about the bubble. You got the towns up and down Liverpool, in other places where it's mainly just, there's no jobs, no nothing. There's one Chinese takeaway, one pub, one thing, and all they're doing is hanging around. You've seen pictures, I've seen pictures. All they do is hang around every evening.
Yeah, that's because they're hanging around, isn't it? They're not being.
So if I may say, and I do want to see why you disagree, but if I'm just summarising what he's saying is, the refugees that are coming in now are immigrants from different communities, and they're put in a predominantly white working class area where it's homogenous. There isn't different races. It's not fluid. It's not pluralistic. In those communities, what you guys faced growing up in the 80s and 90s,
they're probably repeating. He's saying they're not.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So, so they will endure what you guys endured. And why do you disagree with that?
Because the reason I disagree with that, because we've kind of paved way for the next generations. Because when we were like, in East London, maybe there was major amount of Asians. In North London, there wasn't. There was few in certain areas, whatnot. So the people who of that time didn't obviously know about our
so you're
culture.
Saying ignorance
was
okay, it was
everywhere.
Rampant,
yeah. Whereas now you got our colour in the TV, on TV. You got people running businesses. Right. You got people in politics. You got our different colours in every single field there is. Before, I remember, in the councils and things like that, it was predominantly white people working. Now you got all sorts of people working where I'm from anyway.
So we've integrated just a second. So we've integrated.
Yeah.
So how do you account for the flippant racism that still occurs, and I think racism has transformed into, particularly with Muslims or people that look Muslims like you and I, and Noz, Islamophobia, because I think it's transformed into that now. Yeah. Because it's not the colour anymore; it's your creed.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because I'll tell you why I would agree with that, because when we were growing up, obviously, because you're foreign, your colour is different. Yeah. After the 9/11, it was more, you're Muslim. You go onto the bus, you go onto the train, everyone's looking at you differently. Even your own colour is looking at you differently. Even people who are not Muslim.
But do you see the theory still the same? And I have to support Noz on this. Yes, it was racism in the 80s and 90s, and now it's moved on to Islam. But the commonality here is it's a group of people that are the other. Yeah. So before it was your colour, but now it's your creed.
Yeah, I'll say that.
So your argument, your theory about integration, we as Muslims have integrated as well.
But the thing is, a lot of these people are because I've seen quite a few of these documentaries and videos about them, going on the protests and things like that, EDL and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Their mentality is a lot of them, when you question them, they don't really know what they're talking about.
No, they don't.
When they talk about the Muslims, they don't know what they're talking about.
No, they don't.
You see them, being asked questions, and they're like, "Oh, I hate them because of this and that, blah blah blah." But the thing is, when they mention certain things, it's nothing to do with Islam. It's nothing to do with how we actually practice our religion.
Sure.
Yeah, it's out of ignorance. It's like when we were growing up, they didn't know us as brown people, as Bengali, Asians, whatever.
So are you giving them the benefit of doubt then?
I would give them benefit of that, because it should have been our duty, because we've been here long enough.
Yeah.
We've been, we've had the chance to actually communicate with these people.
Right. Are you saying we're not?
Not to that extent, because I see a lot of people still not, kind of. All right, if one person is talking about, I'm hating Muslims, whatever, whatnot, and they got a Muslim neighbour. Why are they hating the Muslims? What are you doing that they're hating you? You're obviously not integrating. You're not having conversations with them. Why are you not telling them a little bit? Because our duty as Muslims, to be honest with you, as Muslims, is to give dawah, even if it's in the smallest form. Yeah. And you know what? If they're hating you and you're the neighbour, you're obviously not doing enough.
I'd flip that on its head. I think most Muslims, you are quite right to say that it's within our creed and within our duty to show a neighbour the same love as you would your relatives and your own siblings and your own family. But that's not the problem here. The problem is you've got a beard. The problem is your women wear headscarves. The problem is you go to the mosque and pray 5 times a day. Yeah. The problem is you wear your own attire. And it's not the fact that you're not integrated, it's the fact that they don't like what you do.
Why is that?
So, and I'll let Noz come in here before I'll just finish on this with you.
The question should be, why is that?
Because it's different. And ultimately it comes down to that premise, difference.
So the way I see it is, okay, you're different. Yeah. You're wearing a headscarf. Sure. You're growing your beard, whatever, whatnot. You're different. But the thing is, the people who don't like you, do they know why you're wearing a headscarf? Do they know why you're growing a beard?
I'd argue they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
No, that's a fact.
They don't care.
You have to accept that there's a number of them, no matter how much nice you are, no matter how many samosas you give them, they don't care.
Common phrase, this is a Christian country.
It's probably come down from a couple of generations, and it's probably...
You could say that. But
this is a Christian... That's what they say.
The majority?
No, I wouldn't say majority, because I'd said in the previous episode that I think, and this is a ballpark figure, I'm generalising, but more than 50% of this country is educated and cultured. So a lot of this country is very tolerant and very educated. But there is, I'd say, a significant amount that doesn't accept Islam outright. And Islam isn't like your colour. I'll give you an example. For instance, you're a tan brown man. If you speak a certain way, so you've got a Cockney accent, and if you went to a pub, they'd forget about your colour. Yeah, Islam forbids you from drinking and going to a pub. Now, if you went and did that, you've contravened your stipulations to Islam. But if you did that, if you went to a pub and contravened. You ended up drinking and going to the pub and mixing, what have you, they'll have no problems with you.
No, they still take the piss out of his name. Not English
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's the point. That's the point. But that's the point. So instead of calling you Anwar, they'd call you, I don't know, what's your name? Ali Boy or something.
I haven't had that.
Yeah, but whatever it may be.
I haven't had
But
that.
the point I'm making, this is a very good and this is a very important point that I need to make here. Islam isn't malleable. We have to pray 5 times a day. Never would it be in the past or in the future where drinking alcohol is permissible. Never ever would it be. People can do it. Muslims drink if they want to, and that's a sin for them. But never would it say in our creed that drinking is permissible. Never would it say that women should walk around with that headscarf. Now, a woman can walk around with that headscarf, but that's her choice. So this is the biggest problem here. With colour, I think we're at a stage now, particularly in the 21st century, and I'm going to get you in here, Noz, where a lot of people, regards to social media, even the illiterate, is a lot more smarter than the illiterate 30 years ago. If that makes sense. He's got a smartphone. He knows how to use Google. I don't want to sort of sit on that. But with Islam, it's not malleable. And I'm not going to go a bit religious. Allah says in the Quran, you know, if you change your ways, then you'll be accepted. If you change your ways. So colour isn't the problem here. Have you not seen those adverts? A lot of gambling gambling adverts do, or in the football adverts where you see like a group of white guys in a pub and you get the odd black or 2 guys and they're drinking. So those white people will see past his colour. But you've realised that he's assimilated to their culture entirely. He speaks in a certain way. Even if you look at the top boy from West Ham back in the 80s and 90s, he was a black guy. He's only black by his skin colour.
Yeah.
He spoke like an English boy. He completely assimilated to the culture. So they can, I think, racism isn't a problem now. They can overlook colour. What they can't overlook is difference. Those that are bigots or racists. And you can't change your religion, and that's my point. Can you counter that before I bring Noz in? You can't change your religion. If you do change your religion...
It's not about changing your religion. Right. It's you sticking by your religion. And then if you're questioned about your religion, you should be able to answer why you're doing certain things.
But do you see the point that he's making is that those that are bigots or racists or ignorant, whatever you want to call them, you can give them whatever excuse, they will not accept you because of your religion.
It all depends. They will not accept you because of your religion because they don't know enough about your religion. If they knew a little bit about your religion and they can see that, you know what, you're actually genuinely a nice guy, or you know what, yeah, we've got something in common, we're okay, and he's not a threat to us or whatever, whatnot, then they do tend to open up a little bit more. Whereas when you don't open up yourself, there's nothing for them.
I think we do open up, though. You're saying turn the other cheek, but we do open up.
No, I'm not saying turn the other cheek. I'm not saying turn the other cheek at all. I'm just saying, you know, we've been here long enough.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah.
And we have integrated.
And yes, we have. But there is still, obviously, the education side of things. The people who don't know about Islam, they're still ignorant about it. I'm not saying, you know what, go out there and start, you know, everyone, oh yeah, hi, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm Muslim, how you doing? Yeah, I pray 5 times a day because of this and that. You know, I wear tupi because of this and that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that. The thing is, you're going to come across people. I come across people where I live all the time. I just moved into a new manor. Yeah. First thing I did was, I walked past a garage. I said hello to him. Yeah. I said, "You all right, mate?" Oh, blah blah blah. Oh, what's your name? John. All right, John. My name's Anwar. Do you know what I mean? And then, you know, now I walk past there every day. Yeah. He's saying, "Oh, you all right, Anwar?"
But do you see that's, you know, if I take you back to when you were growing up, you said that you're in with some of the white boys that are racist, not to you but to other people. Yeah, so the problem I'm having, I have to bring Noz in here, is that when you've got media, certain parts of the media making a concerted effort to be openly Islamophobic, openly Islamophobic. So you as an individual, what you're doing is right. You're greeting yourself, you're addressing them with manners, and they may have a perception of you. Yeah. But when you've got the media, and you throw that into the mix, and some parts of the media...
That's a totally different thing.
The thing is... No, but you can't just find...
The reason it's totally different is because the media, everyone's going to watch it. Yeah, you're not controlling the media. Sure. You're controlling your efforts and your what's it called? How you interact with the people around you. So even if the media is telling you this and that, obviously they're going to have a biased views or whatever, whatnot, because they've seen a lot of negative things about us. But the thing is, if they see that, you know what, you're like this, because I'll tell you why, because I've come across a lot of people who used to think like that because of the media. Sure. that I've not met them before, I've not known them before,
Sure.
and I've just met them, and then I say to them, certain thing. I always start off with by I'm Muslim. At the time I used to say I'm married, I got children. Yeah, the saints talk about. Okay, all right, you're Muslim, blah blah blah. Straight away I say that. And then obviously the way I communicate with them, this and that, we can relate to certain things. And then slowly, I chuck a little thing about Islam or whatever, whatnot. So they feel more comfortable. Like, you know what, actually, he's all right, but you know what, I just learned something new.
Right.
You see what I mean? My mindset is like this. I don't think because of what I've went through, should determine how what's it called? How I should just like withdraw from.
I'm not saying withdraw. I'm saying that this is a larger problem. This is a larger problem where you've got swathes of this country.
Yeah.
To be fair, swathes would be a bit dramatic, but a sizable amount of this country openly being Islamophobic, walking to marches. That Tommy Robinson march, how many people turned up? At least 200,000? 100,000? They were openly Islamophobic.
Yeah. They were openly Islamophobic.
And it's not that we're not integrating. It's not that we're not law-abiding citizens.
I'm not saying it's not that
the people that you're talking about, the people that are ignorant and genuinely haven't come across Muslims, those people are susceptible. Those people don't have a thick stature where they have hatred towards Islam. Those people just don't know anything.
Yeah,
that's different to those that think, generally speaking, Muslim Islam is a cancer.
Yeah.
I don't care how they are, how good they are. We want them out. Naz, can I just bring you back in, mate? What do you think of his take on? And to be fair, from an individual perspective, I agree with him. You should portray the best version of yourself, and through that, people should. And again, we all have jobs, particularly as ethnic minorities in this country, to put our best foot forward.
Okay, so I'm going to try to address this and try to link everything together.
Sure.
But for me to do this, I'm going to put a backdrop, and I'll use a few analogies, and hopefully Anwar will follow, and then you can come back afterwards. Yeah. So think of I wouldn't say tsunami, but think of tides coming in from the sea.
Right.
If anyone's done some swimming in an open sea, I'm talking about high tides. Yeah.
Sure.
And when you're trying to swim across the tide, you might get a little bit, but that tide is too powerful and it pushes you back. Okay. So I'm just using a simple analogy. Let's view that tide as media, as post 9/11, all the media propaganda, Muslims in the spotlight, the arrest, the house, the detention policies for 30 days without, the 7/7s, all of that. Let's put that all in that tide, and that tide has suddenly calmed down for a bit, and then another big tide came from the back. And that tide joined to this tide. Again, I'm using analogies here.
Sure.
And the tide at the back was, let's say, use it from the days when we had a few fringe groups that were very vocal because of the free speech policies. And I think they pushed the boundaries too much, thinking that's it's any bad publicity, good publicity for them. And they started burning poppies and flags and whatnot right outside, army veterans coming back. And that worked out a lot of emotions, raw emotions. And the Tommy Tel Aviv boy, he was smart enough to capitalize on that, and he started this sort of movement, let's say, yeah? And for them, he didn't need media, he just needed pubs and hooligans, because they travel up and down the country and they're in all the pubs, and it's a matter of just word of mouth. And it went like wildfire, because for them, it was the most rawest nerve you can think of. They've had grandfathers in the army, they've just come out of Afghanistan. They've got their own mates that have come back. So, and you're attacking that sort of level of, patriotism. So he was able to garner that support quick time. So there's that tide that's come down a little bit. Al Qaeda, ISIS, all of that things are sizzled down. They realized that Iraq was wrong, so it sizzled down that tide. And then that tide starts growing from the back. And then as it's growing from the back, that it needs wind, it needs momentum. So the finances coming from the Zionists, the distraction from the policymakers at the top comes in with that boats, and they're mainly Muslim migrants, and then other little things and here and there. And if you put it all together, and the social media algorithms are playing a part, so all of this is building a tide of an echo chamber of anti-Islam, anti-Muslim. They're different, you have to be wary of them. Now, as that tide's coming in, it's sucking in the good neutral people that you could have changed as an individual. But you going in with your I'll give you samosa and I'm a Muslim, pray 5 times, is up against their 7 days of watching, going to a pub, hearing boom, 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 Muslim this, Muslim that, they're this, they're that, they don't want to change. And then you're going and saying, I'm a Muslim. That 7 days worth of propaganda that they're getting outside of your interaction against your one interaction is that tsunami against your little tide of trying to swim. It ain't going to work. So it needs to be a more concerted effort. It needs to be bigger than what we're doing. We still have to do what we're doing in our capacity, 100%. That's a basic.
That's a given. That's a given.
Basic
Yeah.
Muslim obligation. So now let's look at this big wave coming in again. Now it's joining up with this other form, and it's getting bigger. Now, unless the wind changes, unless suddenly some miracle happens, that tide is going to carry on growing. So do we jump on that wave and say, you know what, we can't fight that wave. Let's just kind of jump on board and compromise and be a bit more like.
What is there to compromise?
What I mean by that, let me tell you. So the compromise was we had loads of them voting Conservative. We had loads of Bengalis voting Conservative.
Right.
That's a compromise. They thought, Conservative is going to be the ones that are going to, they're going to back for us. They're going to give us free, tax exemption. So they used a business structure to compromise, to say, let me see if I can get in there with the Conservatives. And maybe I can influence them and I could get this and that. And we're at the top echelons of posts and positions and councils, and we can get our way.
Sure.
The Muslim Council of Britain invited Tony Charles in, this, that, and the other. And you know what? No matter how much you compromise, everyone got a slap. Every single organization, institution, individuals got a slap on their face saying, what you're doing is not enough. We need more compromise. And that's where we are now. Everyone's bending over backward to
what would be the compromise? Because with regards to, say, the Muslim diaspora voting for the Tories, that's a testament that we've usually people that vote Tories historically are older, historically they're doing well in society, and historically they've assimilated. As opposed to historically, I'm generalising here, those that do vote Labour, predominantly ethnic minorities vote Labour. The moment you stop thinking you're an ethnic minority and you're part of this country, more so, depending on your views, you lean towards the Tories. And if you're making a bit more money, you lean towards the Tories.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say,
So essentially, by that virtue, we've assimilated. By that virtue, we've assimilated. If you're comfortable enough, think about it this way.
But then your matrix is that.
Yeah.
Is that what your assumption of? Is that what your criteria of assimilation is? Because
Not necessarily.
Assimilation has many levels of factors.
I'll give you
That's
another.
a manifestation.
Okay, I'll give you an example. So if my old man came to this country, right, and he by default would vote Labour because he just thought Labour is for
my dad did the same.
So Labour naturally, regardless of how well off I was, how many businesses I have, they're here for people like me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas me, I'd be a bit more fluid. I will vote I'll vote depending on which party aligns to my interests and my values, and ultimately what serves me, which means I've fully assimilated. I've come. What I mean by assimilate.
Fully assimilated.
In contrast to my father. You
become a bit more tactical and a bit more.
Tactical's not the word. The word is more. This is my country, so I'm going to decide on who's going to govern me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to by default because of my colour vote for Labour.
Okay, so I see what you're coming.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's say as a default position.
That's a good way of thinking because I think the same way.
Yeah. So let's say that is a gauge and it's happening. But then they also got slapped.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That was just a side point. My point is, so we've compromised here.
Yeah.
We've assimilated.
Yeah.
What is the next level of compromise? Ultimately, because from what this brother said, that we need to be a bit more welcoming or a bit more receptive to them and ingratiate and mix and what have you.
It's not,
those people that look at, generally speaking, Muslims or immigrants, or they push us all into one bracket, they look at us as outsiders. When you say that second tier of compromise, what do you expect? Because I don't think compromise works at all.
No, I know it doesn't work.
So what would be the second layer of compromise? Because you said we've compromised where we've the Muslim country. So what's the second level of compromise here now? Because the rhetoric now.
Second level as in what are certain.
What do we do now to not be seen as the outsiders?
Oh, what do we do?
What do we do now? Because that's what we're perceived as.
Yeah.
If you look at the right wing media.
No, but you're asking. Sorry, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you're asking me. How much more can we sell ourselves, our deen, compromise, our values, our core values?
No, I'm saying up until this point, regardless of how well you're doing, whatever job and position you hold, because of your religion, coupled with your colour, you're seen as an outsider to some portion of British society, including the far right or right wing. What more can we do? Because he's saying the more nice you are, the more they'll let us in.
It's not to the bit.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. Nigel Farage has laid it out.
What did he say?
He wants us to go to the pub with them, you know, on a
and I've told him we can't do that.
He wants us to go and start saying...
No one's telling you to sell your soul. No one's telling you to sell your...
No, they're not telling you directly. But they're telling you through the politics, through the policies, through the mouthpieces like Farage and the new Reform Party. They're telling you through the social media. They're telling you through blatant, Boris Johnson making comment about a post office box and making that similar. So they're telling you, bro. They're telling you blatantly.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're talking about more towards to do with the people who want to rule this country and who are running the country, the government.
He's talking about general people.
I'm talking about every level.
General people.
I'm talking about your boys down the road. I'm talking about your politicians. I'm talking about your reform. I'm talking about fabric of white society.
Yeah,
they're all at us now.
Not all, but
most.
I wouldn't even say most. There is a sizable number, but I wouldn't say most.
I would say most.
We'd be in trouble if it was most. We'd be in trouble if it was most. It's a white country.
No. What I'm saying, most of them are after the vote, and if that means that they have to do a bit more Muslim bashing, they'll do it. If that means they have to be more sympathetic to...
You're talking about politicians?
Yeah, politicians.
Okay.
Yeah. And under the politicians are business leaders and so forth. We have got head teachers. We've got, what do you call them, inspectors.
Right.
We've got medical bosses in the NHS. They're all caving in to that level of what they expect. So they want basically these different levels of people to come down on the Muslim diaspora more, i.e., get the fine comb out a bit more, look into their charity organisation. Look into their bank account. Look into this. Look into their school. Look into what is radicalisation.
It's still the fun. Yeah, level. I get it. I agree with you. Yeah. It's that polarizing theory that this is the other. So just quickly, I want to wrap up here. We've run out of time. So on the back of what I've said and what he said, and we went into great lengths of discussing it, how do we assimilate more? Because our religion is not up for compromise. So the starting point now is those people that don't like us and think of us as immigrants, albeit we're born here. I said it emphatically in the last episode. I can speak like them. I mean, speak how I speak, with a British dialect, educated, good job, well off, wealthy. But for a certain section of society, or those that want to polarize us or perceives me as another, regardless of what I do, because of my religion, because a lot of it now is Islamophobic. It's not racism. I feel like racism has evolved into Islamophobia.
Racism is out the window now.
Yeah, so it's Islamophobia, but I think that's masqueraded here, if that makes sense, because it's still racism. If someone, I'll give you a quick example.
It's a hate towards people who are different.
Okay, let me put this in your head, and I'll end with this, and I'll get your last words. The black guy that senselessly stabbed those innocent people in Huntington.
Peterborough, isn't it?
No, it's Huntington.
Oh, okay.
Huntington.
Train between Doncaster and
Huntington.
King's Cross,
So if that guy perceivably looked Muslim, I'm not saying black people can't be Muslim, but if that guy fit the prejudice or stereotype of a Muslim, someone of our colour, perhaps even a beard, but readily people that are not Muslim would identify him as a Muslim, what do you think the media would have done?
We all know what the media would have done. They would have labelled him as a terrorist.
I'll use your theory. You're nice to your neighbour.
No. I'm not. It's not about my theory. Yeah. The thing is, I'm not gonna sit there and go, you know what? Yeah, we're living in a imaginative world where everything's all everything's all happy and you know. The thing is, I'm in touch with reality.
Sure.
I'm not gonna just dismiss what's actually really going on. I'm not saying, if this was an Asian guy with a beard and he was a Muslim,
Asian or Arab,
any of those things. Ultimately, being a Muslim, he wouldn't be labelled as a terrorist rather than a nutcase. Yeah, of course he's going to be labelled as a terrorist. It's been done since the 9/11. You know what I mean?
So his analogy of the tide, how do you combat that? Because that is the tide. You're fitting into
media, isn't it? It's media and the people at the top pushing this onto normal Joe public. And when you go and speak to normal Joe public, they don't know much about Islam. When they do know about it,
I'd argue it doesn't matter.
It does in a way because I talk from my experience.
Yeah.
I talk from my experience, my family. I got mixed race family. I got reverts in my family.
Sure.
Yeah, who didn't know anything about Islam. Once
Yeah.
they found out about Islam, they became Muslim.
Mashallah,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And it's not just one
Yeah.
in my family.
Yeah.
It's I got Jamaican sister-in-law. Yeah, I got mixed race brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Norwegian sister-in-law. I got niece and nephews who are black, white.
Yeah,
I got all these. The reason I got these is because you know what? Someone somewhere told them a little bit about Islam. Yeah.
But the starting point, you know, the people in your family,
Yeah.
I can confidently say their starting point wasn't hate towards Islam.
It
Or was
was
it?
ignorance.
But was it? No, the ignorance is different. Ignorance is I don't know about this religion. I don't care.
Yeah.
The starting point of a lot of people that he's describing is hate towards Islam.
Yeah.
Was their starting point hate towards Islam?
No, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you the reason.
How do you combat people that the starting point? And bear in mind, I said racism now has transformed into Islamophobia. It's and again, I think it's a combination of both. It's been masqueraded or transformed into Islamophobia, but essentially, it's the other. It's the other, and I think largely, you know, they're saying it's a Christian country, and to be fair, by census results, it probably isn't. The ideology that we follow in this country is secular. The Church of England has no power. It has as much power as a baby does, right? But the point I'm making is, think about the narrative here. How often do these people that say it's a Christian country go to church or even actually practice their religion? They don't. But you have to pick up on the words here. The reason why they're using specifically it's a Christian country, and historically it is a Christian country, even though these people don't practice, is because they feel like they've lost their identity. And what that means is whoever it is, someone's pushing a race war or sectarianism or polarization. So regardless of how nice you are, the fact that you're another is not going to change in their eyes. Because this non-practicing Christian, he probably doesn't even know what Christianity is. He's saying, "Oh, it's a Christian country. Yeah, get out of my country. Too many Muslims." Yeah, excuse my.
The thing is, this Christian, this guy who claims to be says all these things doesn't even practice Christianity. Doesn't know anything about Christianity.
That's my point. Yeah. The thing is, the reason why he's adopted it, even though, and
it's because someone's force-fed it.
No, it's not someone has force-fed it. Yeah. It's when a people, any sort of people, are at risk of their identity being lost, or they don't know their identity, they clutch onto things or latch onto things that historically was theirs. So even though he's not a Christian, or he might be secular, we can maybe not even spell his name. The fact that he's saying he's Christian is to distinguish that you're the other.
You're the difference, yeah.
There's a difference, and that difference, no matter how nice you are to him, be nice, go back to Islamabad, be nice from there. Because that's what I've been hearing, the rhetoric, especially from the far right. You know, some of them would say, we have no problem, but there's too many of you in our country. Get out of here. No matter how nice you are, it's a territorial thing. That's what they're saying. And if they're using the notion, oh, they're not assimilating, and I can see that as a problem because we still live in our tiny enclaves. And you have a good point there. Some of us still don't assimilate, and that's perhaps down to geography and stuff like that.
You know what? The majority of us don't interact with the people of this country, whatnot. The thing is, we are here. We are British. Yeah. I mean, I was British a long time ago. Yeah. No, my granddad was here. My dad was here. Do you know what I mean? So the thing is, I got you know, like I said, my family's from white background as well. And the thing is, I'm not saying to you that, you know what, if everyone suddenly come out of their house and started going, you know what, you know, this is a little bit about Islam and this and that.
But
everyone's going to accept
it. We're doing that anyway.
It's
because as a Muslim, you should be praying 5 times a day.
What you're talking about is the minority of people who turned up. You know, out of 60 to 70 million people. Right. How many people turned up to these marches?
I'm not even talking about the march. I'm talking about we've woven into different institutions now, and I think to be fair, and you have to be, because everyone's bashing this country. You know, this country. You can. I'm not sure 30 years ago how hard it was to get a promotion, but now I think it's less prejudice and everyone has a chance, and it is based on meritocracy. So, like I said, I don't think most of this country is racist. We're in big positions, etc., etc.
We moved away from using the word racist. We're not saying they are. Are they Islamophobic? No. Is there a concerted effort by every power to be institutions, media that is against Islam, yes, that's a fact. We can't argue that. Can we counter it as small communities from here and there? No, because we don't control the media. Can we counter it in our local communities? 100%. Can
Absolutely.
we counter it in our workplaces? 100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can we counter it in our daily interactions? Definitely. Do we counter it on the social media platforms? Maybe it's a losing battle because of algorithms and so forth, yeah? But let's leave that. So I agree with you. Yeah, do what you can within your capacity, neighbours,
That's a
workplace,
given, yeah.
etc.,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
But let's not be blind. Let's not be naive to the fact that they, when I say they, we're talking many different stuff here. Their hatred towards Islam is real.
Yeah.
Their agenda is long term.
Yeah.
Are they going to push all the Muslims out and our next generation, we're not going to be here? No. We're too assimilated.
Yeah, we are.
We're too kind of entrenched now.
Yeah.
We've done well as a community. We're not really the French Muslim who are kind of been always pushed to the suburbs.
Yeah.
They're not as integrated in the politics of France and Europe. We have a bit more of a leverage, let's say.
Yeah.
But should we do more? Yes, definitely more. How do we do it? I don't know. That's for the people at the top.
I will have to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your stories.
Yeah.
And we had quite a, I'd say, all over, but really interesting discussion. Thank you. This
To be honest, I didn't
good.
really tell my stories.
Perhaps we'll bring you back on to tell your stories. But I think,
Inshallah.
nonetheless, I think we had a very good discussion. And Islamophobia, particularly, I mean, as a man, you may face it, unfortunately, but I'm more concerned about our women folk that do wear headscarves, that do live in communities where they are actually the minority, and these cowards do target vulnerable. But one thing I'd like to make clear, I think even though there's this othering going on now, I do think that we have assimilated, English is my first language. And I'm not just talking about myself, generally speaking, we have assimilated, but one thing that's not up for grabs, like I said, colour can be overlooked. And I'll give you a perfect example, and I'll wrap up with this. The West Ham's top boy, I forgot his name now, the black guy, when racism was at its height, when you guys were growing up, I think he's a bit older than you, probably in the 70s.
I've come across him on
Yeah,
that.
the black guy. Yeah. When racism was at its height, they overlooked his colour and they made him the top boy there. So race isn't the problem, because he assimilated. He couldn't change he can't help the way he looks. He spoke like them. He embraced their culture like them, and I think he even married a white woman.
Can I put a caveat there?
Sure.
Ollie, and I'm going to leave it open, because it's going to open up another kind of worm.
Yeah.
I have an issue with the word assimilation, because for myself, the definition of assimilation means that we've adopted their core values, aspects of their core values, of liberalism, of secularism, of freedom of speech. Yeah. But as Muslim, we can never fully accept each of their premises and their core values.
Absolutely,
because we don't have freedom of speech. We don't have absolute freedom. We have, we can't.
I mean, we don't disrespect people.
No, we don't. No, I'm saying as ownership, we haven't owned it. That top boy you're talking about, he probably completely had to give up all his ancestral rights.
That's my point. That's my point.
He probably took abuse from them. He probably had to be a gaffer for them for years before they put him up the ranks. Same as Rishi Sunak and this other lady now who's bleeding. They've all had to give up their complete allegiance, understanding, values, attachment to that identity of theirs to be viewed as assimilated. So I would say we're not assimilated, we've integrated. I agree. But that's for another time.
That's and I think you wrapped up my point. So essentially, our religion is not up for bargain. We are Muslim.
We've integrated, we'll interact with you all day long, mate. We'll be nice to you, even you racist people out there. But we are who we are. We know who we are.
We'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.